everybody, and welcome to the new year. Oh my goodness, it is 2023 already. And as you know, we may come into this space trying to figure out whether or not we're excited about it, if we're, having a little intrepidation about it, or we're in our feelings about it, because the last two New Years literally knocked us off our heels, took us in a space where we weren't even prepared to go. But it's 2023 and we are ready to sit down, prioritize, just really look at our lives and have some fun. So I'm going to invite our guest in, and today we are joined by none other than Dr. Tierney, our Level Up Life Coach, Pastor JT Owens, pastor and life coach, as well as Stacey Owens, balanced living coach, entrepreneur, and educator administrator extraordinaire. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Dr. J.
Hey, it is the new year. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that these last 365 days, they went so fast. And now we're back at the beginning. Wow. Let's talk about that for a minute. What does it look like to be back at the beginning? I'm going to start with Pastor JT, because oftentimes the beginning is a good place. And then for some people, it's a daunting task. Talk to us about that for a moment.
Yes. I always love the start of a thing because I believe that it gives you a fresh awakening. It gives you a renewed sense of commitment. Everybody is looking at vision boards, their goal setting. And I know that there will be some detractors, and start to think about, well, you did this last year, what's going to be different from this year? But, I believe that the beginning gives you an opportunity to go into with a clean sheet of paper. Because you got to think about it. There are a lot of people that live life every day carrying notes from the previous day, and they never get a chance to put a period. Believe it or not, January 1st, the beginning of the year, seemingly gives people a pass to finally forget those things which are behind and press forward towards the mark. So this is an amazing time. And I pray the excitement is reverberating through the television, through your tablet, through your computer, and you are not bringing in maybe the failures or the depression or the breakdowns of 2022 into 2023. Allow this year to shape itself, and you see the beauty of what creation can be.
Absolutely. Stacey Owens, what say ye, ma'am?
This is a time for reset. Like it's over. We're starting over. This is the time to rest and just start reflecting on what you've done, what you want to do, and setting those goals and setting those intentionals, being very intentional about setting, the path of what you want to do for this year. We got to be careful during this time, though, because we are in this quarter, in this winter month where it's cold out, it's getting dark early and all that good stuff. So we got to make sure that we keep our mind in a good space so that we can remain positive and just, map out what we're going to do this year.
So true. Figuring out how to map it out, how to prioritize it, and how to put you first. What do you say, Dr. Tierney?
So something that I always like to say, the beginning of the year, we're starting over, but we're not starting from scratch. Okay, so this is a time where we can start anew, start afresh, but we learned a lot last year. 2022 taught us a lot. 2021, 2020 taught us a lot. So even though we're starting over with a new year, we're not starting from scratch. That wisdom, those lessons, those techniques, those tools that you learned last year, bring them forward into this new season. So as you're starting over with a brand new year, new goals, new resolutions, don't leave that wisdom behind in the last year. Bring that forward with you into 2023.
Now let's cut, that's a lot to package, but I want to unpack it for a minute, because you did mention something I think everybody will be able to attribute to this. When we talk about what it looks like to be able to navigate that 2-year learning curve, because that's what 2020, 2021, and 2022 taught us. We had a severe learning curve. And so there was like this beginning, this middle, and this end. So now that we figured out that we're not starting from scratch, but we're yet in this space of literally trying to figure out what does the middle look like, so we can get to a good end. You know, where do we find an access point, Pastor JT, in, you know, this learning curve? What are some of the things that you learned that you think are great tips that other people can begin to put in their toolkit at the beginning of 2023?
I learned, especially looking at it from a religious standpoint. When you think about church, you had so many people, so many pastors that were trying to go back and reclaim the glory days. And it doesn't matter if you had a church that was a mega church or if you had a church that was, you know, had 25 to 30 members. We have not reclaimed that. There are a lot of people that have not come back to church. And so you'll hear a lot of people speaking in past tense. What was, how it used to be. But what happens with that is that drives you into a place of depression. And now loosely, I always kind of frame two of the major mental illness spaces with this thought. Depression arises when you are in the present, wishing that the past had a different outcome. Anxiety happens when you are in the present, but you are in the future trying to predict what will happen. So the thing that I have learned is establish your now. Where are you right now? And then let that be your base. Because this is the thing. If you have not evaluated, your now really could have you in a space that is better than you were in the past. Because just being at this place, just as my sister Dr. Tierney said, just being at this place means that you're at this place. And I don't want y'all to run past that. Being at this place means that you are at this place. You didn't get here just by osmosis. You just weren't dropped into this space. Man, you went through some stuff to get here. There were some hard nights. There were some struggles. There were some wins. There were some learns. There were some times when you cried your eyeballs out. And there were some times where you were in the middle of a parade, but you are here. But you are here with a wealth of knowledge that you didn't have in 2020. You're here and you know now how to make some things work with a little bit of nothing in 2023 that you may have lost your mind if this was that time in 2020. So I think establishing that now, bringing yourself into this space and maximizing this, that's the best thing that I can offer anybody.
Absolutely. Dr. Tierney.
And I'm going to pick up right where my brother just left off. As you are in the now, look at what you need now. How is your life set up now? Some things that I was able to do in 2020, 2021, even 2022, I can't do that now. You know, and I'm talking macro and micro. You know, take an assessment of what your space, mental, emotional, physical space looks like now, and what you needs to show up in your now. Okay. If that means you have to get a nanny, if that means someone else comes in and cleans, if that means you have to push back from that circle, if that means you have to start this, if that means you have to stop that, whatever that means, don't hold yourself or beat yourself up because what you did then you can't do now. The thing that's important is what you need right now that will help continue to propel you forward to your next now. Okay, not getting too far into the future, but what is it that you need that will help you to keep going so that your 2023 can be as successful as you want it to be?
Those things make perfectly great sense, because as we're talking about how we go through and navigate the things that are necessary for our now and our next, Stacey, what are some of the things that you have learned as you navigated this 2-year learning curve?
Yeah, I'm going to go right in with my colleagues, you know, with that right now space. You find your gap and then be flexible enough. I learned that I had to be flexible, and in my now, what was I missing? What do I need so that I can get to that next level? So learn a new skill. I learned that there were some things that bubbled over the last 2 years that I didn't even know I was dealing with. And I didn't even know if I knew how to deal with it. So I had to put that on the forefront to say, what book can I read? What self-help thing can I do to help me to be able to process that? And I see that a lot even in the field of education. Like Pastor JT was saying, in church, everybody kept looking back, trying to, go back to what was the normal. Same thing happened in education. When the kids went out of the building and they came back in, they needed a new thing. And everybody wanted to go on as business as usual. Teachers wanted to go on with business as usual. And now kids had greater things to deal with and greater things to process, and they needed help processing that. And so I think those teachers who figured out that I just need to be flexible and let go and figure out, do I have what it takes to do this thing that I'm doing right now? And if I don't, where can I look to get the help for that? What can I learn about myself? What new skill can I learn? And if you're still sitting there talking about how things used to be, they're the ones that's struggling. So yes, just something new.
Absolutely. We're in this space as we're navigating the nuances of beginning this new year. 2023 is always going to be in that space of poise with potential and possibilities. And as we think about some of the things that are hindering us or keeping us from finding our beginning, our middle, and our end, are distractions. When we come back after the break, let's unpackage that for a moment. How are distractions going to hinder you in 2023 if you keep looking behind and not looking ahead? In a moment, when we're back after the break.
Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And there is so much excitement and enthusiasm about this new year, 2023. And I know a lot of you have already pressed the pause button simply because you're thinking about 2020, 2021, and 2022 and how it wasn't all that we thought it was going to be. But now we're in this space of saying, let's turn the page. Let's close the book. Let's start a new book, new chapter, something different in the way we think, in the way we process, how we move into this new season. So let's talk about distractions for a moment, because oftentimes we're in that space where you're doing great. Things are looking good. You've got your plan. Pastor JT talked about the vision boards and it's all on your wall and you have a map, but something gets in the way. I want to talk to our Level Up coach for a moment, Dr. Tierney, so she can unpackage for us the role distractions play and how to get out of our own way in order to be able to move forward. Dr. Tierney.
So distractions are usually the number one thing that keeps us from actually reaching our goals. Distractions can be external and internal. So a lot of times when people hear distractions, they think of other people, or they think of social media, or they think of external things. But there can be internal distractions. And those internal distractions are usually the ones that levy the most damage. I've heard it said this way: your enemy is your inner me. Your enemy is your inner me. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What is on the hamster wheel of your mind? Is it procrastination? What self-sabotaging, toxic self-talk are you telling yourself? Are you walking around saying, oh, I'll never get that, or maybe one day I would, or I should be better? Those are the things that become the distractions, because you are focused more on those things, that feeling, those little things that's telling you can't do it, instead of actually throwing your whole weight behind going after the thing that you want. Now, of course, we can do a ton of tools, around how to get your planners and your schedulers and use this app and all of those things. But if you have that internal turmoil happening, it doesn't matter if you have all the apps. If I gave you the blueprint, it would not matter, because that stuff that's happening on the inside is really the main reason that's distracting you from reaching your goal. The number one internal distraction that I see is fear. Fear is the number one distraction that I see with a lot of my clients. They get on that hamster wheel of the what if this happens, what if this doesn't happen, what. And because we are afraid of a thing, that fear of the unknown, the fear of what if it goes wrong, the fear of what if it goes right, the fear of what if I actually succeed, will they still like me if I am now the manager or whatever it is, that can become the thing that causes us to pull up short and not actually go after what it is that we want. So when we're talking about distractions, I don't want us to get caught up in thinking that they are just some external force or, oh, I'm watching too much TV or anything like that. It's those internal distractions that we have to check first.
Wow. I think that what you stated, my inner me is my enemy. And oftentimes we don't recognize that we are standing in our own way. I want to invite Pastor JT into this conversation because sometimes it is us. I know he'll probably give us one of those good scriptures about how you look at the beam in somebody else's eye when you got a 2x4 in your eye. But it is the very thing we cannot see what's going on with us because we're so busy being distracted by other people's things. Pastor JT, talk to us about how, from what perspective you see is necessary for us to eliminate distractions to move forward successfully in this new year.
Right. And I'm glad you asked that question. From my vantage point, what do I see? How can you do? I think what happens is that a lot of us are driven, right? We're driven by frivolous finish lines, if I can say it that way. Frivolous finish lines. I'm going to write that down. Frivolous finish lines. Because when we achieve those things or we don't achieve those things, or if we're looking at somebody else's achievement and that is our picture of what the finish line looks like or success looks like, then we really don't have anything that's motivating us because it changes every day. And it seems like there's a new finish line, or if somebody else is doing something, then I want what they have. I think the big issue is that a lot of people operate in life without a strong enough why. Because if your why is challenging, if your why is demanding, if your why is causing you to get up out of bed without even hearing an alarm clock go off, you're going to check your own self. I wrote a piece talking about being your own accountability coach. And I know Dr. Tierney probably will tell you that there are a lot of people who come to us for coaching that, baby, you probably need to go see a therapist first. Because there is some mental work that needs to happen before we can even get to a place of coaching you. Because if you cannot get past, just as Dr. Tierney said, that inner me and deal with that person that somehow keeps telling you that the bed is more comfortable than you moving to an office, or telling you that it's okay, we can do it later. And I got it. There are times that we should rest. But then there are some times that rest is not warranted because we have not even started yet. And so I really believe that one of the biggest things that I would challenge anybody on here before you have another vision board, because there are some people, Dr. Jackie, that they have a new vision board every year. And there are things on those vision boards that they have not accomplished since 1989. They still got pictures that they cut out of old Ebony magazines and Big Mama's jets and saying they wanted to achieve this. And now you have to ask yourself the question, what habit have I created within myself that has caused me to be so undisciplined in my life that I can look at a picture and say I want it, but I won't push myself to develop the things that need to happen to have that picture become a reality. Because the only thing that stands in between you and success is you. I'll give this scripture. We hang on this scripture so much. When the Apostle Paul said, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me, I got it. And I said this speaking to a group of Black men. I said, if you look at that scripture, I say in church, somehow, some way we have convinced you that all the responsibility relies on God. The first thing that Paul says is, I can do it. When you cannot convince yourself that it can be done, you now jeopardize the power of God. You now put a muzzle on God. And Pastor Jay, how can we put a muzzle on God? Jesus said he couldn't even perform miracles in his own hometown because they didn't believe. So it starts here. So if our why is not pushing us to develop a strong sense of I can, 2024 will be right at this point saying what we could have, would have, should have done. But you are at an optimal space right now to develop your own brand board image and how it's going to be and what you're going to achieve and actually get it done.
Absolutely. I'm going to give a couple of snaps over here because, when I think about what you're talking about, Stacey said something earlier that really resonated and how we need to, find ourselves where we really need to be so that we can keep moving and going. Stacey, when you think about distractions, what role does discipline play in being able to keep moving forward?
Oh, discipline is major. I was going to say, if I had to add anything on about distractions, I think that's a phase of my life that I'm in right now, because even when you have the tools and you have the well put together, vision board, and you worked everything out, right when you're at the cuff of something great happening for you, it seems like the whole world opens up and try to take you in a different direction and get you off track. And so I think the first step is you got to also learn how to recognize when something becomes a distraction for you, whether it's internal or external, because we're so accustomed to waking up and moving in our everyday life that little simple things may happen and we may not see it as a distraction, and we're not really paying attention because we're not operating in our presence. So we're not paying attention to how every time I get ready to open my laptop to write my dissertation, 100 distractions come, okay? And I'm now learning that I have to be able to, defeat those distractions by telling people, now I can't do this for you, or now is not the time for this, or no, or, learning how to escape and finding time to get to myself. So I'm working through that now. How can I help identify this is a distraction for me, and then move to another space and say, this is how I'm going to deal with this distraction. And then not feel guilty when those distractions become other people. They like to put guilt on you and make you feel like, you're not meeting their needs. All of that you have to take into play. So I think the hardest thing is just recognizing, for me, this right now is a distraction. And it's not helping me towards the forward progression of what I'm working on now. That's what's going to get you around it all, is knowing what are your distractions.
I think that that resonates on so many levels because, forgetting what is behind and pressing, toward the mark. Oftentimes we forget where our mark is. We forget where our why is. We forget our beginning. And I'm going to go into this break. But when we come back, talking about those things related to what self-sabotaging look like. And one of the things that I can think of is the danger of comparison. When we come back after the break, let's talk about that for a moment. Who are you comparing yourself to? Why is it in the way? And why is it not something that you can seemingly remove yourself from? When we're back after the break.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And as you can tell, starting off the new year requires you to have some things in your toolkit and arsenal that you can call upon when you're triggered by the things of your past, when there are things that you want to accomplish, but old behaviors and habits and ways of thinking get in the way. So let's talk about comparing ourselves to other people. Everybody come on back in, because, there's something dangerous about comparing yourself to other people. And that is one that I find is a great saboteur of being able to get mentally well, physically well, socially well, emotionally well. All of those things kind of just fall into play. And I want to start with Stacey, because one of the things that she talked about related to discipline was how do you get you out of the way? Stacey, what are some of the things that you have learned about being able to remove portions of yourself that hinder you from staying not only disciplined, but looking what other people have accomplished at your age with your credentials, et cetera, et cetera?
First of all, I don't look at other people because I'm only in competition with myself. You know,
I love it.
When you start looking at what Sally's doing down the street, I don't know her story. I don't know what she do. I don't know what's for her. I don't know her good times, her bad times. I don't know what skill set she has. So I don't want anything that Sally has, because what's for me is for me. And so I think when you start comparing yourselves to other and you start looking, you know, down the road to say, well, if so-and-so is doing it, I should be able to do it too. That you're setting yourself up for failure right then, because you can only take your gifts and talents and do what's directed for you to do. You don't know what that other person's gifts and talents are. So, I mean, that's how you lose discipline, because you're trying to compare from the outside, looking into somebody else's insides that you don't have the complete story or picture to. So now you're not disciplined because you're making a bunch of assumptions about what it is that they're doing or have done. And then you're trying to do the same thing and you don't even know. So now you're wasting time. So I think you get past that by focusing only on you and what you're desired to do, knowing when you're in your different season, knowing when something is not moving the way that you anticipated it to move. That's not a time to abandon ship. That's a time to become more focused, more disciplined, and trying to figure out what else do I need to do. I don't compare myself to other people. And I encourage people not to compare yourself to me, because you don't know my struggles.
Dr. Tierney.
So I had the benefit of growing up in the 80s and 90s before social media. So we didn't know what everybody was doing. I didn't know what the other person's birthday party, looked like. And the benefit, the beauty in that is that it forced me to really get to know me, what I wanted. So we talked earlier about having our why. I think a lot of us don't have our why, don't know our why, because we're too busy looking and putting our eyes on our neighbor's paper and trying to emulate what they're doing without first getting to know ourselves, without getting to know what it is that we want. We want what they want without really knowing what it is that we truly want for ourselves. I tell my clients all the time, I pay a high price to sit in the big yellow chair. It costs a lot to be, Dr. Tierney, and so when we start, and I'm going to use this word, I'm going to go down Pastor JT Street. When we start coveting what our neighbor has without looking at the burden that comes along with those blessings, then we're cutting ourselves off at the knees without really looking at ourselves, what it is that God has for us, our gifting, our talents, our desires, our passions, our purpose. And we're trying to run somebody else's race, wondering why our life is not panning out the way that we thought it was, or why we keep tripping and falling. So this is why it's important. I love what Stacey just said. I don't compare myself to anyone else. Can we absolutely learn best practices? Yes. Can we learn from one another? Absolutely. But when you start to diminish you in order to become a clone of someone else, you are shortchanging why the good Lord put you on this earth. Can't nobody Dr. Tierney the way Dr. Tierney can Dr. Tierney. Can nobody do you the way you can do you? And it's your job to walk in that. It's your job to stand on that. It's your job to uncover and discover everything that God put on the inside of you. But the more we look at other people and turn our head to the left and to the right, the more we're going to falling back from the things that God has for us.
Absolutely. Pastor JT.
Wow. My sisters did a great job. I really, let me figure out something to say.
Yo, Pastor JT speechless.
I mean, they did it. They did it. But I kind of float in this, kind of 21st century liberating, revolutionary minister, right? So I don't really preach a very watered down message. I feel like I got, some Nat Turner in me. I'm just preaching, and because I want people to be free. I want people to be liberated from the shackles that we place on ourselves. And one of the greatest things that we have done in this day and age, we have placed the shackle of comparison on us. There's a quote that says that comparison is the thief of joy. So now, could there be so many people walking around in a stupor, so to speak, walking around depressed, despondent, because they're looking over their shoulder, looking at somebody else? There was a scripture in the Bible. Chief Levite was in charge of David's choir. Asaph was a cold penman. I'm talking about, that's why we have the Asaph Music Awards of people who write music. He was cold. But he said in Psalms, my foot almost slipped when I started looking at them, looking at how they were prospering, looking at them not going through anything. And then he had to find a way to snap out of it and come back to himself. And God told him, man, you tripping. They going to be like the grass that's going to soon be cut down. But you are missing valuable time to be investing in yourself because you want what they have, or you wish you could go through what they're going through or experience what they're experiencing. To Dr. Tierney's point, my dad, when I was growing up, man, my dad told me, man, don't be want no big house, because you don't know, them people got that big house, they might have candles lit.
I'm telling you.
As a kid, I didn't know what he was talking about. I thought, maybe, man, what's wrong with them having candles? They might be wanting to be romantic. He was like, no, they ain't got no lights on because they can't afford it. And there are so many people that are living lives now, and they are imposters. I mean, like, you really have people spending hundreds of dollars to buy fake Gucci bags. Mm-hmm. That's a thought process that we have grabbed and gravitated to that is causing us to have a more weakened stance in our community. And I'll say this again, because me preaching from this space and always trying to liberate and being a man's man and trying to push my brothers. I just said this in a men's setting. I said that competition has caused us not to complete our brother. There is a space where I'm supposed to bring the best me to the table and offer that best me to you. And you bring your best you to the table and offer it to me. And then I add my best with your best. And then now we become better. But if we are always in a space of competition because of comparison, now we have given an open door for the enemy to come in and rob us and steal, because there's an African proverb that says that when two lions are fighting each other, and one lion wins or one lion kills the other lion, the one lion that wins, he remains, but he is wounded. So now it makes it easy for the enemy to come in and devour a weakened prey. We have allowed people outside of us to be able to come and sneak attack us because we were in such a comparison mode that we actually, old school, squared up against those people that we supposed to be locked in arms building with.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting because oftentimes it's those battles that we are in with other people that keep us out of balance of being able to be who we are and what we need to be. So let's give our audience a challenge as we prepare to go into the break. What would you say they should keep or let go quickly related to no longer being comparing themselves or being allowed to be compared to other people? Pastor JT.
Keep a picture of your greatest self in front of you and work on that. Don't worry about nobody else. Just keep, real quick, there was a pastor that I was coaching and he was very despondent. You know, he was saying he wasn't growing. And then I asked him, I said, with all of the work that you're doing, amazing guy, amazing preacher, doing great community stuff, but he wasn't seeing thousands coming every Sunday. I asked him, if you were in a rural country area doing all that you're doing and you were the only person there, you would be a superstar. And I said, you're a superstar right where you are right now. So keep that vision of the best you of you in front of you and work on making that to be the best that God has created it to be.
Absolutely. Dr. Tierney.
Let go of keeping up with the Joneses. We have no idea what the Joneses got, what's the truth about the Joneses. We get on social media and we see that couple hashtag goals. We don't know that they was just fighting like cats and dogs before they took that picture. We try to get all of the things that we see other people with without really knowing the full story. So we compromise our finances, our peace, our happiness to try to keep up with them. Stop trying to keep up with other people and stay in your lane.
Absolutely. Stacey Owens.
Yeah, I was going to say, keep affirming yourself. Like, figure out, who are you? Say, I am. Put those words of who you are. And then every day, keep telling yourself that until you become, if you're not already that, keep saying it until you become that. So keep affirming you and let go of what others think about you. So if you're listening to some clutter that's coming from other people and you're allowing other people to define you, let that go and define yourself.
Absolutely. I think that's a perfect segue, because literally the imposter syndrome can overwhelm us and oftentimes overtake us. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about getting to know you again. We'll be back in a moment.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And sometimes finding your space, finding your balance, finding your rhythm, finding your vibe in your tribe is what is needed. Many countries, in a lot of places where it's cold all the time, they get into this rhythm of saying, I'm going to go to concerts. I'm going to, get out and about. I'm going to no longer just stay inward because it's detracting from who I really am as a person. And, a lot of this pandemic season that we were in and are now coming through, put us in that space of not wanting to get out and about and not knowing how to, really live again. So let's talk about that. We're at the beginning of a new year. You're doing something great with your life, or at least you have plans to do that. You want to start over and rebuild. Gang, what does it look like to find you again? Because sometimes we are weighed down, if you will, by everything else everybody else said that we were supposed to become, and we don't become those things. So once you're no longer self-sabotaging, once you're no longer trying to keep up with the Joneses, once you've found your discipline, how do you then begin to emerge and just live again? Dr. Tierney.
So I encourage my clients to get their childlike curiosity back. When we were kids, we had curiosity and imagination that was out of this world. You could give us a stick and we'll take that stick, and it was a drumstick, it was a microphone, it was a conductor's baton, and we could do a ton of things with just a little stick that we picked up off of the ground. But somewhere along the way in our adult walk, we become jaded. And we don't just become jaded about things that are external to us. We also become jaded about the things internal and how we see ourselves. So get that childlike curiosity back to just exploring you again, exploring the things that you like. I, for one, I still like to color. And so you may find me on a self-care day with some color pencils, some markers, and a coloring book. Finding those things that really bring you joy. Who are you in this new season? And allowing yourself to imagine what it could be. Once we stop measuring ourselves against the measuring sticks of them, start looking at what is it that I want? What do I want to do with my stick? Is it a conductor's baton? Is it a magic wand? You know, is it to start a business? Is it to go and travel the world? But allow yourself that time and that space to just be curious again, you know, to be creative again, to innovate and imagine again, and just see what pops up. You'll be surprised at what comes out.
Absolutely. Stacey.
Yeah, I was thinking while Dr. Tierney was talking, I was like, you know, normally we get so stuck in the rut because we're doing the same thing over and over and over in life, and we think we know what we want, and then we become bored with it. So I say, into finding yourself, find those things, like just try new things. For me, it's like, I know I love being by the beach. So find different beaches to go to, and then go to the mountains. Try something new. Try something that you haven't tried before to see what kind of joy that brings you. I think the more you dig within and allow yourself to try new experiences, that will help you to figure out what you like and what you don't like, what brings you joy and what doesn't bring you joy. Those things that you like and bring you joy, keep doing them and do more of it. The things that you don't like and it doesn't bring you joy, let it go. But the main thing is, don't get stuck on one cycle trying to just, you know, do what you normally do. Get out the norm.
Get out the norm. Pastor JT.
Wow. I think both my sisters said what I was going to say. It's kind of odd today. I might need to start going back first again, Dr. Jackie. New year, I'm just, you know, speechless. But one of the things, the first thing that I thought when you posed the question is going back to that space where you were before you first heard no. And that's where Dr. Tierney talked about that childlike faith. And we don't know, even as parents, we don't even know what we're doing when we tell our children what they can't do. We're developing something in them that they may not even grow past. But I think it's going back to that space and reclaiming that kid and really talking to them. And now telling that kid what you wish somebody would have told you at that point, rather than putting a box around you that you have been living in, and help that child break free out of that box. And then the second thing that I would say that kind of piggybacks off of that and combines what Stacey said is, I think we may have to spend some time really finding out who we are. Not what you do, not where you stay, not the Greek letters you represent, but who are you? Because I think when you find out who you are, then now you can start to identify what makes you happy. Because if I'm only happy when I'm around my lion sisters or around my frat brothers, that's still going back to that organization. I find peace and solace when I'm at work. It kind of goes back to. So now in my personal space, if everything is removed and I happen to be like Tom Hanks and I'm on this island with a volleyball, how will I be able to keep my sanity and stay happy? It only happens when you know who you are.
Okay, so I honestly, in my mind's eye, I see our audience saying, what does that look like? Because oftentimes the vision of that is predicated on so many things, our titles, whether we're a husband, a wife, a girlfriend, a mother, a sister, you know, the titles of our job, whether we're a boss, a manager, or whatever. But finding yourself, you know, so I'm going to answer the question that I just asked, and then we're going to kick this off. Because when I think about who is Jackie, what is she like? What does she enjoy? Not based on who my spouse is, not based on the titles that I carry, not based on the organizations that I'm in. I honestly can say it's just getting out of the house, driving around in the car, and enjoying nature. I can honestly say that I am able to find me when I see myself as a part of creation. It literally fuels my creativity. I'm able to think clearer. I'm able to dream more. I'm able to just be at peace and say, wow, this was a good day. I did absolutely nothing that pertained to anybody else other than me. And oftentimes people don't know where to start. So if we can do a round robin, and I'll start with Dr. Tierney, where should a person start to find themselves again?
I'm glad I'm going first. Yay. So this is the very first question I ask all of my clients. Who are you? Don't tell me what you do. Don't tell me about your titles. Don't tell me about your money. Don't tell me about your house. Don't tell me about your things. Tell me about you. And when I tell you, it stumps every client. Every client clutches their pearls like, oh my God, that is such a hard question. And then as they ponder it, they like, wait, it should be an easy answer. Why is it so hard for me? Because we are locked in this cycle of our do. Our do has superseded our who, to where we are so focused on what we're going to do, what we do for our job, what we do for our kids, what we do over here, and what we do over there, that we have lost sight of our who. The key that I give to my clients, well, at first I'll just be honest. I don't give them any like tips. I just go wrestle with that and come back next time and we'll, unpack it. But the key that I eventually give them is to think in adjectives, think in descriptors, kind, and not just the, let me say this too, not the surface, the mass. We're not talking about who is your mass. We're talking about who are you. So if I was describing me, I would say I am kind, I am jovial, I am selfish, I am tenacious, I am all the things. So that's the key that I always give to my clients in terms of digging into your who. This is not something that you would just sit and write out in one setting. You might write 2 things a day, 5 things tomorrow, come back on Sunday and have 15 more things. But it's something that you should be in a constant exploration of you and thinking about the things that describe you, not what you do, but the things that describe the essence of you, your character and who you are.
Absolutely. Stacey Owens.
Yeah, I was gonna go with character, and also, just again going back to, as you are experiencing life, what brings you peace. Like I found early that I am a creator. When I'm operating in a space where I can create new things, think of new things to do, I'm so excited about that. And it brings me joy. It brings me happiness. It brings me peace. Like you can just lock me up in a room, leave me by myself, and let me be content to my thoughts about the next thing that I want to create. And then I go find more opportunities for that. So I think getting to know you comes through you just paying attention to your emotions and your feelings and your thoughts as you're doing different things and experiencing different things in life. And then connecting to those things that bring you that joy and happiness. I mean, I don't think it's a magic pill that's out there that's going to tell you who you are, because then everybody would know their purpose. It's something that you're just moved to as you're moving throughout life.
Absolutely. Pastor JT.
I'm going to take I'm stumped again, so I'm going to take an easy way to kind of save face. Yeah, I'm going to save face on this one because Dr. Tierney and Stacey said everything I was going to say. You know what I would suggest, and this is a great way to do it, being who I am. Get in God.
Mm-hmm. Whose you are. Yeah.
I think that that's the key, because man, when you submerge yourself in him, then now his reflection becomes yours. And so then now you start to see yourself as he sees you, because what in the world happens if we do all of this self-work and we still are nowhere near the picture that he has for us? Mm-hmm. So I think that that's one of the greatest things to do, because just as Stacey said, and then you do a Google search, it's going to be 79,000 books, because it's a lot of authors that's getting paid buku bucks at the beginning of the year, because everybody wants this new year, new me. They're trying to get better. They will self-help books, and I got it. But man, the person that can help self the best is the person that created you. And you are his. He created you in his own image and likeness. And who better to find out about you than the grand architect himself?
So let's stick with that. So Pastor JT, what is your adjective? What is the one word that describes you as a person?
So
now you don't want to go first.
Look, thank you for calling him first. I got time to.
Okay, so my adjective is, if you see on my shirt, dream baby dream, I'm a dreamer. My everything about me is I'm a walking dreamer. I'm a walking visionary. And I think that's it, because that encompasses everything in me and everything that I do. So I'm a dreamer.
Absolutely. Stacey Owens.
Like I said before, I'm a creator. You can give me dirt and I'm gonna turn it into something. So I just love building and creating new visions and new dreams. So I'm a creator.
Absolutely. Dr. Tierney.
I am tenacious. When I was a child, one of my grandmother's friends told her, if you let her ever get a toe in the door, she gonna keep on going until she done got her whole self on through that door. Even if the door closed, she gonna figure out a way to get it open. So I am very tenacious. I do not give up. I hold fast and keep going until I see what the end is gonna be.
Absolutely. I would say for me, my word is thinker. I am constantly thinking, and that's probably one of the things that is a distraction for me. It's one of the things that can sabotage me, is that I'm consistently thinking and I don't know how to shut my brain down. And I find some days that that's both a positive and a negative. When we come back after the break, I'll give my reflections.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shots.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Thank you, everybody, for watching today. As you can tell, the new year and yourself are poised with so much potential and possibilities. So whether you are tenacious, whether you are creative, whether you are a thinker, whether you are a dreamer, there is something for you in 2023 that you can attain and accomplish. I hope that as you are thinking about what this new year looks like, that you will allow yourself to do some introspection. I know it's one of those words where we don't want to take the time to do it, but the benefits, oh my goodness, the benefits of being able to just take time and discover your why. This is where we start our new year. Who are you? Why are you here? And what can you accomplish? Thank you all for watching, and Happy New Year.